On the next Canine Corner, it's the holiday season. We'll be talking dog safety for the festive time of year, and author Diane Rose Solomon will be telling us about her new book. Plus, the Miniature Schnauzers and Friends Rescue is here with some amazing dogs who are looking for their forever homes. All this coming up on the next Canine Corner.
I'm Riannon Trutanich, your host for Canine Corner, the show that your dog will give 2 paws up. It's the holiday season and I have a very special co-host with me today, my dog, Popeye Trutanich. Popeye and I are both in the holiday spirit and we want you to be too, so we'll be talking fun ways to celebrate the holiday season with your dog, and dog trainer Kristen Burke is here to talk with us about dog safety during the holidays. Plus, author Diane Rose Solomon is here to talk about her book series, which also happens to be a great holiday gift idea. But first, the Miniature Schnauzers and Friends Rescue is here with some amazing dogs who are looking for their forever homes.
My wife and I founded this organization about in 2006. We used to volunteer with a pet rescue and decided that we wanted to focus on miniature Schnauzers and Schnauzer mixes. So we've been doing this since 2006, and we placed literally hundreds of dogs. Well, we're at the Petco in Redondo Beach every Saturday, noon to 4 p.m. And of course, our website is a good way to contact us. Well, if you go to the website, there's links to the dog, pictures and stories of the dogs that are available, and then there's a link to application. You fill out and send us the application, or come on Saturdays to see the dogs in person. This is Dollar. Dollar and his brother Lucky were turned into the LA County shelter. Family didn't have time to take care of it anymore. Dollar is 7 years old. He's super sweet, very friendly, gets along well with other dogs, and he's really looking forward to his forever home. This is Lenny. He's a 6-year-old male miniature Schnauzer. When he came into the shelter, they called him a terrier because he had such long dreadlocks. He wasn't recognizable as a Schnauzer. He's friendly, outgoing. Our vet thinks he's a little bit younger than the shelter estimate of 7 years old. He weighs 23 pounds and gets along really well with other dogs and loves to go for walks. Very curious, loves to sniff the ground. This is Harmony. She's 9 years old. She was rescued from a kill shelter where her owners had dumped her. She had horrible teeth and really bad skin. And she had to have a dental and got quite a number of teeth pulled out. And with a good diet, her skin has come back and she looks great. Harmony's very affectionate, really wants to be with you, and loves to go for walks. She tolerates the other dogs. She would be good as an only dog. This is Brian. He's a 1-year-old male miniature Schnauzer. We rescued him on St. Patrick's Day, but apparently he didn't have the luck of the Irish because he had a dislocated hip. So we've had surgery, and he had it repaired, and he recovered nicely from the surgery. He loves to go for walks. He loves to play with other dogs. He's very energetic, and he do well in people that like to go out and do things. And Brian is 23 pounds. This is Katrina. She's a 3-year-old female Schnauzer Doxie mix. She was at a kill shelter, and she was petrified of everything. So when we took her home, it took us 3 or 4 days for her to come around. So now Katrina is a well-behaved lady that gets along well with the other dogs. She's probably a little too shy for small children, but she would make a wonderful companion for a quiet home.
If you're interested in adopting any of these dogs, please contact the Miniature Schnauzer and Friends Rescue at msfr.org or at info@msfr.org.
Those were some adorable pups. Now, the holiday season can be a really fun time for you and your canine companion, but with so much going on, you want to make sure your dog stays safe. Kristen Burke with Cognitive Dogs is here to teach us some pet safety tips for the holiday season.
Typically, you want to prevent your dog from having access to any sort of harmful decorations, making sure that your garbage cans with any sort of leftover food items or off-limit food items are secure, and make sure to keep any sort of candy or unsafe foods out of their reach. It's also important to remember that when you have guests coming and going, it does increase the likelihood that your dog might accidentally get out. So having X-pens or baby gates or creating some sort of airlock system for your front door would be beneficial. You also want to make sure that just in case your dog happens to get out, that they are microchipped and that information is up to date, or at the very least having a collar on them with current ID tags.
Even though holiday decorations can be fun, some are dangerous to pets.
Christmas trees, of course, can pose a couple potential dangers. The pine needles that come off of them are mildly toxic, and if they're ingested, they can actually puncture their intestines. What I end up usually recommending is, particularly if you have puppies or dogs that are going to be very interested in the tree or chewing on the tree, to potentially either keep them away with some sort of barrier, an exercise pen, sweeping up the pine needles off the floor that might fall, glass or breakable plastic ornaments. So you want to put those towards the top of the tree. You might even consider getting a tabletop tree this year if you have puppies or dogs that might do a little bit more disaster to the tree itself. You want to be aware that tinsel is probably a no-no. It's shiny, it attracts them. Again, if they ingest it, it can tangle up in their intestines and usually requires surgery to remove.
And if you're planning on being in the kitchen this holiday season, Kristen tells us how we can keep our dogs safe.
Typically, if I'm going to be busy doing something and I think my dog's going to be a little bit too interested in what I'm doing, I will usually give them a food puzzle, a stuffed Kong, something else to entertain them. They also make a very cool machine called a treat and train that's actually a remote-controlled treat dispenser that you can place near the dog's bed, and from where you're standing, push a button and have treats pop out so that your dog can stay out of the way while you're busy doing what you need to do. Of course, while you're cooking or baking, after the fact, if you're planning on leaving any of that out on the counters, you want to be aware of counter surfing, which is purely management alone. The only reason dogs continue jumping up and grabbing things off the counter is because there's usually things there for them to grab. So making sure that all of that is out of reach, up on higher shelves, and of course making sure that any scraps or things that you're throwing away is somewhere where the dog doesn't have access to that.
And if you're having guests over, it's important to keep your dog in mind.
And this is definitely a topic that I discuss more frequently with a lot of clients, particularly those that have shy or timid or even aggressive dogs. If you know your dog and you know that they really enjoy the company of new people, it's okay to leave them out, but you still want to be monitoring for stress signals. If you're seeing a lot of extra yawning, if you're seeing a lot of nose licking, for example, a lot of avoidance, those can be signs from your dog saying that they need a little bit of space. So even if your dog is friendly, it's nice to have some safe, quiet area that they can retreat to and be alone, where their space is going to be respected. You might try, again, using food puzzles, something to keep them entertained and mentally stimulated when they're away from you. You might also try some sort of white noise in the background, like TV, radio. They actually make CDs that have music specifically designed for calming dogs. One example would be Through a Dog's Ear that you can order online. If your dog is usually overly excited to greet guests, you might try walking them for an extra walk before the guests come over, or do some training or something to provide them with extra mental stimulation, burn some of those mental calories, and make them a little less prone to things like jumping. If you know your dog jumps on people, again, using prevention like having them on a leash or behind a barrier when guests first come in until they settle down is usually the appropriate method here. Always suggest keeping your hands to yourself. You can call the dog over if you want to see if they want to come over for petting, and then try to encourage your guests to employ what we call the 5-second rule, where you scratch for 5 seconds or so and then stop and give the dog a choice to decide if they're still comfortable with petting. Usually if they want more attention from you, they're going to scoot in closer or they might nudge you. Obvious signs is if you pet the dog and they go, yeah, thanks, and leave, they probably didn't really enjoy that kind of attention from you, and that's okay. If you do have a shy dog, try to avoid having guests lure them in with food or treats. Usually because it puts the dog in a bit of a state of conflict. If they come over, they want the treat, they take the treat from you, and then suddenly the food's gone, but the scary person's still there, that also could potentially lead to a bite or some other negative reaction from your dog. So if you're going to have guests give treats, you might suggest having them quietly toss treats away from them so that the dog can have some treats but approach at their own comfort level.
If you're interested in contacting Kristen, please visit her website, cognitivedogs.com.
Those were some great tips. We're going to take a short break, but don't go anywhere. We have a lot more holiday fun when we come back.
With liberty and justice for all. Does that mean bunnies? Bunnies are so cute. And kitties? Chickens?
Every year, thousands of companion animals and billions of factory farm and lab animals are legally abused and killed. But it can be stopped. Join the Animal Legal Defense Fund and tell Congress you support sensible, humane laws. Add your voice to the growing chorus of Americans demanding basic rights and protections for all living creatures.
Don't forget the puppies.
A car thief. A car thief with a conscience. Before we get all warm and fuzzy, remember this. Thieves steal nearly 700,000 vehicles every year in the U.S. That's one every 45 seconds. Protect your ride. If you know something about a car theft, call us at 1-800-TEL-NICB. Good dog. A public service message from the National Insurance Crime Bureau.
Mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's at 58 years old.
For me, it was heart-wrenching.
It takes a toll on everyone. I mean, it's a depressing disease to watch unfold before your eyes.
You just don't see the person's soul is like gone.
This disease just ravages a family.
It changes your life.
The magnitude of it is indescribable.
Now is the moment. If we work together, we can stop this epidemic.
Contact Bright Focus and learn more.
Welcome back to Canine Corner. I'm your host, Riannon Trutanich. Now, Popeye and I love celebrating the holiday season together. I mean, just look at our outfits. Here are some ways you can celebrate the holiday season with your dog.
Take your dog for a walk to look at holiday lights, curl up on the couch and watch a holiday movie with your pet, and who doesn't love Christmas cookies? You can bake some homemade dog treats for your dog. Be sure to stop by the Harbor Animal Hospital in Torrance to take a holiday photo with your dog.
Popeye and I are very excited to do all of those things this holiday season. Right, Popeye? Now, if you have out-of-town guests coming in who want to bring their dogs along, we've got you covered. Here's a list of dog-friendly hotels in Torrance.
The Holiday Inn Torrance, the Residence Inn by Marriott, Extended Stay America, Days Inn Torrance, Ramada Inn Torrance, and the Staybridge Suites Torrance Redondo Beach. Be sure to check each hotel's website or call for details and restrictions.
Kristen Burke is back with us to answer your holiday dog questions.
How do I keep my dog safe from the candies? Or are the candy real dangerous?
Typically what I tell people is to make sure that you keep any sort of candy up on high shelves or pushed back on counters where your dog doesn't have access to it. If you have any sort of wrapped chocolates or any sort of gifts containing candy, I wouldn't put those under the tree. I would keep those up and secured. Additionally, if you have any candy decorations on a Christmas tree or anywhere else in the house, keep it up higher where your dog doesn't have access to it.
I would like to know what holiday foods are really bad for the dogs they should stay away from.
Well, in addition to some of the obvious ones like chocolate, you also want to avoid feeding your dogs grapes, raisins, onions, xylitol, which is an artificial sweetener that can be found in lots of different candies and other foods, coffee or anything with caffeine, and of course alcoholic beverages. As long as you don't think your dog is going to be stealing decorations or getting into something that could be potentially dangerous for them, like ornaments or lights, particularly anything with electricity. If they chew on the cords, for example, they're at risk for electrical shock. They do make pet-proof extension cords that you can get. You can give your dog something else to do to keep them occupied while you're decorating if you're concerned that they're going to be a little bit too ingrained or interested in what you're doing. In addition to using some sort of barrier to just keep them out of the area until it's finished, or if it contains anything that's unsafe for them. You want to keep your dog away from decorations that could be potentially harmful to them, such as candy decorations, food garlands, candles that they could potentially knock over, and of course if it's lit, start fires. Any sort of electrical cords or lights, you want to either prevent them from having access to that area or make sure that you're getting some sort of pet-proof cords so that they can't chew through and then of course shock themselves.
Those were great questions and great answers. Author Diane Rose Solomon stopped by to talk about her children's book series, JJ the American Street Dog.
It really all started 20 years ago when we accidentally adopted our first dog. My husband and I were going to buy a dog from a breeder because we didn't know about rescue back then, and nobody knew about rescue back then. And at the 11th hour, a friend of ours called and said that he'd found a dog on a soccer field one night, and the dog had fleas, and the dog had a choke collar on that was too tight. It was really sad.
After meeting the dog, Diane fell in love with him and they named him JJ. After adopting JJ, Diane learned about the importance of rescuing animals. She got involved with animal rescue and became a certified humane educator.
And then I sat down one day and I wrote my story out. Not with any intention, it just happened. And I said, you know, if people like me are out there and they're planning on buying a dog because they don't know about rescue, and I can say, oh, I was going to buy a dog too, but then we learned about rescue or we accidentally rescued. It's an option. Think about the option because there's so many animals that could use a home. So I wrote out my story and I looked at it and I said, okay, I've got this story, my story. Maybe kids would benefit from learning about this.
And JJ, the American Street Dog, was born.
I made it into a children's book and then I made it into a whole series. And so JJ, the American Street Dog is the first book.
The second book in the series will be released this month.
The new book that just came out is called JJ Goes to Puppy Class, because what's one of the first things that you want to do when you get a new dog is you want to train them so that they're doing what you expect of them in your home. But it's also a wonderful opportunity to bond with your new pet and spend time as a family together if it's a family that's adopted the dog. We wanted to share some of the different scenarios that could happen and some of the possible solutions. It's learning patience, and teaching children is another tool for teaching children patience. It's fun, you read it and illustrations are beautiful and the message is great and the characters are fun and they get something out of it.
The stories are not only fun to read, but are also teaching tools.
These values of responsibility and kindness and caring for another being, and if we can learn about that love from an animal, whether it's our pet or a neighbor's pet or your friend's pet, then it extends out.
Each book in the series deals with common situations dog owners can encounter. Diane even gives us a peek at what we can look forward to.
JJ's family welcomes a new baby, because that's another big topic when you have a dog. Particularly, you want that balance of making sure that the children are safe in the house and making sure that your pets still feel loved, that they're still part of your family. The fourth book is about therapy and service dogs, because there are so many ways that animals help people, and that's actually become a big part of my work recently, the research and the science behind how animals do help people. And the fifth book is about misunderstood breeds like pit bulls. I have a pit bull mix at home, and he's an awesome dog, and there's so much misinformation out there about pit bulls and pit bull mixes and pit bull type dogs. And again, if we can educate people, children, adults, that they're just dogs, and if you raise them from the beginning and treat them kindly, they're going to treat you kindly back. And there's some special steps that you sometimes take when you have a pit bull type dog, just because they're stronger, because they have a reputation. We want to keep their reputation nice and clean.
A percentage of the profits from JJ the American Street Dog is donated to animal rescue groups. The books are sold on the website as well as on Amazon.
The best way to contact me is through my website, and it's dianerosesolomon.com. There's a contact page if you want to learn more about how I can maybe come to your school, your child's school, and speak with their class. Or if you want more information on the book, you're welcome to email me.
Those books would make a great Christmas gift. Now, in case you missed our adoption segment at the beginning of the show or just want to see the adorable dogs again, here's your recap.
Dollar is a 7-year-old miniature Schnauzer. He gets along well with other dogs. Lenny is a 6-year-old miniature Schnauzer. He's very friendly with other dogs. He loves going on walks and is a very curious and sociable dog. Harmony is a 9-year-old miniature Schnauzer. She's great with people. She's tolerant of other dogs but would prefer to be the only dog in the house. Brian is a 1-year-old miniature Schnauzer mix. He loves to go on walks and loves to play with other dogs. Katrina is a 3-year-old miniature Schnauzer Doxie mix. She gets along well with other dogs and would do best in a quiet home. If you're interested in adopting any of these dogs, please contact the Miniature Schnauzer and Friends Rescue at msfr.org or at info@msfr.org.
And that's all the time we have today. Papa and I would like to wish you a happy, healthy, and paw-rific holiday season. Thanks for joining us here on Canine Corner. I'm Riannon Trutanich, and we'll see you next time. But first, the Miniature Schnauzer and Friends Rescue is here with... I'm Riannon Trutanich, your host for Canine Corner. It's not working, is it? Yeah, let me just... Oh my God, ow!